Another issue that requires addressing is the decision of the First Deputy Speaker to upend my admission of the motion and rule that the motion should not have been admitted in the first place. Honorable members, it is interesting to note that this is the second time the First Deputy Speaker has taken the chair and has made a ruling which in fact was to overrule a position I had earlier on established before the House. In fact, the First Deputy Speaker was in my office. And what I'm telling you today, I told him before he left to the airport. The First Deputy Speaker has contended, and rightfully so, on several occasions, that he is not the Speaker. I have also, on several occasions, alluded to various areas of parliamentary practice, where when the Speaker is in the chair, makes a ruling, another presiding officer may not overturn that ruling. The penchant of the First Deputy Speaker to overrule my rulings is, to say the least, unconstitutional, illegal, and offensive. Be that as it may, I shall not be taking any steps to overrule the decision of the First Deputy Speaker to dismiss the motion as moved by the Honourable Ranking Member of the Finance Committee. The Deputy Speakers and I will deliberate on how to present a more coherent and uniform structure in respect of rulings so that the House is guided at all times during deliberations.
The charge, or the allegation that I have done something unconstitutional, I've done something offensive, is most unfair to me. I've given a narration of the matters leading to the ruling. Indeed, I have stated clearly that the motion which I ruled had been admitted by Mr. Speaker himself. There's now disagreement, should I say, or discrepancy as to whether he said I should admit the motion or I should permit the deputy leader to move the motion before secondment or after it has been seconded. I thought I heard that he said after it has been seconded. And if you watch the proceedings, I stated clearly that I'm going by what I heard Mr. Speaker say. So whilst I thought I was going by what he says rather he said the opposite. Be that as it may, once the motion had been admitted, it ought to be moved. And once it was moved, it had to be ruled upon. The fact that the Speaker may have ruled differently, does it make mine offensive? It only shows that we look at the same thing from different perspectives. And that is my challenge.
Yeah, his view is that what you did was not only illegal, unconstitutional, and offensive, but tantamount to insubordination. Now, you say...
Well, the insubordination was in respect of the ruling about the budget, the purported rejection of the budget.
That's right. Now you say that on that occasion, you characteristically elected not to comment on the Speaker's statement in public in order not to create the impression that there is tension between him and his deputy.
Yeah.
But is there no tension between the two of you?
Frankly, in my view, there's no tension. We disagree on the way we interpret things. Indeed, I've taken my time to explain. When he was chairman of the Constitutional and Legal Committee, I was the ranking member. On a number of occasions, we disagreed strongly. I recall when we were discussing the property rights of spouses, we took two very strong differing views. Because we couldn't reconcile, he actually said that we should refer the bill back to the executive because the leadership and reconcile. I'll recall exactly. That is not the only time we have disagreed. So disagreeing with him is not new. But to say that disagreeing with him now, because probably he's now the speaker, is insubordination, is most unfair. And in my view, the height of intolerance of other views.
To the AM News with me, Peter CBD. In our first story, Foreign Affairs Minister Shirley Koboche says government has successfully evacuated 460 Ghanaian students from Ukraine to safer zones. Ukraine has been under siege since Russia launched an attack on the country a few weeks ago. Thousands of people have been displaced and seeking refuge in neighboring countries. They have been caused by members of parliament and civil society organizations to governments to evacuate Ghanaians there. Addressing the media on Sunday, the Foreign Affairs Minister said the students are reportedly safe.
As at midday today, 27th of February, information gathered was that about over 460 students have left Ukraine en route to Poland, Hungary, Romania, Slovakia, and Czech Republic. The students will be received by officials of our diplomatic missions, honorary consuls, and officials of the students' union or associations. We are pleased to provide the breakdown of those who have exited Ukraine as follows. 132 have arrived in Bucharest, Romania, and our officer on the ground is preparing tickets for some of them to leave tomorrow to Accra. Reason why I say some of them is because the distance between the holding area and the city itself is, I'm told, over 500 kilometers. Am I correct? And so some of them are on their way to the city. At the moment, he has with him 24 of them who are at the airport, and he's trying to get them on Qatar Airways to Accra. Some are being processed at the holding area, and I'm told about 60 of them are going through border formalities. So they're on the other side of the Ukraine border, going through border formalities to get into Romania. 38, having crossed into Poland, are with our officials. We are currently also making arrangements for those who are willing to be assisted to get on flights. 25 persons en route to Prague from Slovakia were assisted by the honorary consul and will be received on entry by the mission in Prague. 25 just this morning arrived in Hungary and are being sheltered at the Pentecostal Church in Budapest.
Shirley Koboche also disclosed government has opened talks with Russia and Turkey to facilitate incident-free evacuation for Ghanaian nationals in cities under attack.
Officials of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration have held productive meetings with diplomats of the Russian and Turkish embassies in Accra to discuss the pathway to an incident-free evacuation exercise. Just this morning, I spoke to an official of the Ukrainian embassy in Abuja. They have concurrent accreditation to Ghana. And I told them about the difficulties some of our compatriots, especially the male students, are facing in their attempt to cross into neighboring countries. Both meetings resulted in an agreement to facilitate passage of our compatriots should the need arise. Other meetings were held with officials of the Scholarship Secretariat and a Ghanaian security institution, all in a bid to promote multi-stakeholder engagement towards a successful evacuation of our people.
Accra Regional Hospital says it is enforcing new measures to flush out blood contractors involved in illegal blood sales. A JoyNews and Corruption Watch expose revealed how a syndicate operating at the National Blood Service at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital and Greater Accra Regional Hospital sell blood to desperate patients. Speaking on the sidelines of a blood donation drive in Accra, the medical director of the hospital, Dr. Emmanuel Sofrenyo, said they are taking measures to avoid administering blood that has not been screened from unknown facilities.
When something is scarce, people try to take advantage of the fact that it is scarce. Sometimes when we ask relatives to bring family members to come and donate blood, then they go to town and look for people who are now going into this as a business. So they go to town and look for people, and the people say that, okay, I can get you 1 pint of blood, bring this money. Then wherever they go to get the blood, we don't know. And however safe it is, we don't even know. And that is why we have cut out all those people who are into that. When you don't get the blood from a recognized hospital, like from our own blood bank or from other sister institutions, then we wouldn't even give it to you because we cannot guarantee its safety. That's the precaution we are putting in place.
Kajabi District Assembly in the Oti region has secured 15 acres of land for the construction of a district hospital as part of government's Agenda 111. 4 districts in the region would also see the construction of 100-bed capacity hospital to cater for the health needs of the people. The project would see the employment of both professionals and non-professionals across the region. Correspondent Peter Senu has more in this report.
At a brief ceremony, details of the project were revealed to stakeholders in the district, comprising of chiefs, religious leaders, security heads, the assembly staff, and health personnel. The district chief executive, Wilson Agbanyo, has promised his commitment to ensuring quality job is done.
I've been appointed by His Excellency President Akufo-Addo to be his representative here. The project Agenda 111 is close, is so dear to his heart. So as his appointee in KJB district or Akan constituency, it behoves on me to make sure that oversight responsibility and my own responsibility of seeing to the supervision and monitoring of activities here must be, for me, is so key to me and could even be daily for me. At the assembly level, we have works department. I am going to task them to always weekly give me a report as to what is going on. And beside that, we have other intelligence agencies that are also tasked to see what is also happening. And my special visit and unannounced and surprise visit to the site to see what is happening will inform me to know what is really going on in as far as this hospital is concerned.
Larry Atipo is the CEO for Indigene Associates, the site supervising consultant for the project. According to him, funding for the project would not be a challenge since government has given the green light for the construction.
Agenda 111 is a national project. To the best of our understanding, it is funded 100% by GOG, meaning it will be funded from our taxes. So to that extent, yes, we are a country of resources, so I believe that as long as we are willing to have the hospital, our taxes will pay for it. Yeah, so that is the assurance that has been given, that money will be found for the project. So the fact that we are here to start is also a good indication that there's some sufficient money to start the project and see to its completion.
The DC again said residents in the district would be relieved of traveling challenges to well-resourced hospitals outside the region when the project is completed.
There's so much deficit when it comes to people who go to hospital and people are referred, they have to move from here to whole regional hospital. The road is not good and some finances do not enable them to travel far. So with this hospital here, with all the amenities that are included, Our people cannot say anything than to say thank you to Almighty God and the President of the Republic that its benefit is so invaluable to us.
He also allays fears that the 15-acre land, which is part of KGB Asatu Senior High School, would prevent the school from expanding in the future.
Kasek land that was donated by the people of Asatu and KJB is so vast. We're even thinking that even with the hospital here, I think that if the vision of His Excellency President Akufo-Addo is that every district must have a university, then if the university is sited in KJB district, which is the largest in Oti region, one day this hospital will become a teaching hospital. So it is even a welcome news to the management and for that matter, especially the headmaster of the school, that the students will take advantage of the hospital.
The project, expected to be completed in 18 months, is scheduled to commence in a fortnight. Peter Senu for JoyNews.
Borno East Regional Minister Kwesi Edujane is asking officers of the Ghana Immigration Services to switch to the use of ICT and intelligence gathering to enable them outwit the very sophisticated methods being used by suspected criminal syndicates. Mr. Jan made this call at Mindoro to commission a new office space for immigration officers in the Kintampo North Municipality. Correspondent Anna Sabit reports.
The new office space of the Ghana Immigration Service is to, amongst other things, contribute towards the provision of a safe and peaceful environment for the people of the region as a whole. Speaking at a mini derby in Kintampo to commission the office, Borno East Regional Minister Kwesi Edujane charged the Immigration Service to switch to the use of ICT solutions by taking advantage of the current digital platforms as a means of outwitting sophisticated methods being adopted by suspected criminal syndicates.
We all do understand the threat that we face from the our northern borders, eastern borders, western borders, as well as our coastline. For less to match up with the sophistication around us now, the best thing to do is to go technical, to look for ICT solutions that will enable us not only gather or assess data or analyze data, but also assist us to look at a distance using artificial methods or using sensors, using whatever means necessary to capture what is happening in our bodies.
He however appealed to the Interior Ministry to equip the institution with the needed tools to aid execute their work effectively.
Having gone through, I think they need a lot of logistics and equipments. So I'll urge both the controller and the Minister of Interior to equip, with the state-of-the-art facilities. Computers, they don't even have many computers. I will appeal to them that let's equip them well so that they will be able to live up to the tasks that we have entrusted into their hands.
Regional Immigrations Commander ACI Enoch Abrokwa Ano was full of gratitude to policymakers for the facility and noted that the unit would help strengthen security in the area.
Kintampo being the transition belt, it is good we consolidate ourselves here to prevent the illegal immigrants from entering Sunyani, Kumasi, and other areas of Ghana. So it is a good omen, and I have to commend the President, the Interior Minister, and the Controller General for this good work.
He however cautioned the people to be wary of new visitors as a means of helping combat possible terrorist threats in the country.
People here will have to collaborate, because if you look at the Islamic militants and then you look at the people of Kintampo, I think they have similarities in their culture. So it is easy for somebody to come and hide in here on the guise that I am a Muslim. But meanwhile, deep down, he has a mission to accomplish. So we need to open our eyes well and ensure that those we are accommodating don't harbor any bad feelings about Ghana.
Municipal Chief Executive for Kintampo, Isaac Bafo, commended the immigration officers for their service and assured of the Assembly's total support to the command. Report JoyNews. Anas Sabit, Kintampo.
In the Upper West region, Chairman of the Ghana Hotels Association, Abu Kansankabata, is worried about the increasing cost of operations in the industry as a result of high utility tariffs. He says hotels have been forced to increase room rates to account for the loss, which has also led to a reduction in patronage. He wants government to grant the industry a concession that will lessen their burden so they can reduce rates at the hotels.
Upper West Regional Chairman of the Ghana Hotels Association, Abu Kabiembata Kansangamata, underscored the importance of the hotel industry, noting that it is an integral part of the Ghanaian economy, which does not only generate foreign exchange, it increases various forms of government revenue, creating jobs and income, and thereby enhancing development. Abu Kansangamata, however, lamented that despite the services provided by the industry in the growth of the country's economy, it is facing some serious challenges which they want the government to have a serious look at.
Many hotel managers spend huge amount of utilities, especially electricity bills, and with the recent hikes in fuel prices, generators are not an option. Hotels are therefore forced to increase room rate to account for the losses they may incur, but the increased rate only negatively affected them as patronage reduced greatly because most guests do not want to stay in expensive hotels or rooms. This affects revenue, and the bigger picture is the head-on struggle we find ourselves as an industry. I want to therefore take opportunity to call on government to grant the industry some special concession that will lessen or reduce our expenditure on utility, thereby leading to reduction in room rate. I believe strongly that it will be a win-win situation since it will go a long way to boost the government year of returns project.
The Upper West Regions Hotel Association chairman appealed to the government to ensure that members of the association benefit from the COVID-19 stimulus package.
I am aware many of our industry players in the Upper West region, and I believe cut across the whole country, are yet to benefit from the government COVID-19 stimulus package. We therefore appeal to government to, as a matter of urgency, leverage and extend the package to all those members of the association in the region and across the country who did not benefit the government stimulus package. This will support the industry to survive from the recent shock emanating from the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic.
National President of the Ghana Hotels Association, Dr. Edward Akanye-Meche, stated that in order to lessen the burden on the shoulders of the government, they are initiating ways of their own in order to reduce their operational cost.
In our own effort, we are looking at, say, things to do with the use of even boreholes. We are also looking at collaboration with the other trade associations in terms of the tour operators, the tour guides, the car rentals, and all that. We want to put our heads together so that we can promote domestic tourism as much as possible. We are also looking at training our members in identifying cost-effective management areas so that we can reduce our costs.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafiq Salam.
Because of what was being said by Adiwale, the start of they said if Akintunde.
And here in Accra with the AMUs, I am Mapito Sibidi. The AM show continues with Benjamin Akakpo. Enjoy.
Well, here we are getting into the newspapers for this morning. We'll be joined shortly by Executive Secretary for COPEC, Duncan Amwa. Let's get right into it then. But just to give you a bit of an update with that story in terms of the banner headline on the front page of the Daily Graphic. Ukraine-Russia conflict, 24 Ghanaians arrived today, 460 evacuated. Yesterday, I was interacting with some students on the back of this. And Julius, for example, who is the National Nooks president, felt that more had to be done in this respect. But in case you've not followed, kept your eye on the ball in terms of the Russo-Ukrainian crisis, Russia is saying that it is making inroads. But what is the reality? 70% of Ukrainians are optimistic they will overcome Russia in these hostilities that are being extended to them. We also know, for example, that Russia has taken quite a hit. The Russian ruble has fallen massively. And in fact, as of today, the stock exchange in Russia has not opened yet on the back of some of this. But Russia, on the other hand, has taken one more city. So many dynamics to look at in this geopolitical tension that is brewing. But on a more serious note, if you go back and look at the Cuban Missile Crisis, you would realize that there are certain things and certain hypocritical stances being adopted by some entities in the West. But on the other hand, we don't like what is happening in Ukraine because it has bread and butter effects on all of us. As Duncan joins and we talk about fuel prices inching up, for example, you would notice that, yes, if things remain the way they are, we don't know for how long, it's going to affect petroleum prices across the world. Already, the last time we checked, $105 per barrel. It came down to $101. But what does this mean for all of us? And for those of you who are football watchers as well, the likes of Poland, the likes of Sweden have said they don't want to play against Russia at all. UEFA had actually determined that they should play on a neutral ground. Now, Poland, for example, has taken it up, calling on other European countries to call for Russia to be taken out. So, manifold effects when it comes to this war. Our hearts are with those in Ukraine. Well, this morning, that story, the 24 Ghanaians, the first batch of evacuees from Ukraine, will arrive in the country today aboard Qatar Airways. They are expected to be followed by 220 others who have exited Ukraine and will be in the country within the week. The 24 Ghanaians are part of about 460 students who have managed to leave the beleaguered Ukraine to neighboring countries such as Poland, Hungary, Romania, Slovakia, and the Czech Republic. At a press conference in Accra yesterday, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Ms. Shirley Ayoko-Boche, said the 24 had already arrived in the Romanian capital, Bucharest, and officers of the Ghana mission there had procured tickets for them to leave for Accra today. And the numbers, she added, were bound to increase in a few days as, quote, we observe the team spirit being displayed by our compatriots, reaching out to one another, setting up group WhatsApp chats, sharing important phone numbers of consular officers and other personalities who could be of assistance, and the cascading effects of the initiatives. We're just hoping and praying that things go well for all of them and that they are all brought to safety. She also spoke about fake news and how there had been talk about a train carrying some Ghanaians, from Ukraine being hit by missiles. And that was mentioned or said not to be true. We have to be very careful with some of the footage we see supposedly from Ukraine. I saw one of the footage that I didn't, I cannot share thoughts with you about because I cannot authenticate individually or as a group whether or not it is true. But we're joined now by Duncan Amwa, Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers. Duncan, good morning. If you can hear me, Duncan, maybe you just have to unmute. Good. Super. It's another Monday morning. Thank you for joining the conversation. Let me start with you from the standpoint of Russia and what is happening there. And let's forget about wheat and sunflower and all of that. Let's focus on petroleum and petroleum-related products, where now we find the barrel price of petroleum products or oil, and the fact that we've had our transport fares inching up. In fact, I have a list, and they have jumped up, quite a lot, depending on where you're moving through the country. Accra, Kumasi, 70 cedis. Accra, Drobo, 110 cedis. Accra to Goso, 75 cedis. Accra to Ejura, 70 cedis. Accra to Yeji, 90 cedis. Accra to Nandom, 175 cedis. Kumasi to Tamale, 90 cedis. Differences coming up. What is your reaction to this? And I'll go back to this question. Do you foresee that there could be further increments on all the increments we've already had?
Once again, and I'm glad God gives us another week. In this day of nuclear powers insisting that they invade other countries and also issuing threats here and there, you do not know how long further the human race has got to continue with life. But, well, we hope for the best. So the fall-offs from this Russian-Ukraine invasion, however, is a lot of economic challenges that this will throw to the rest of the world. Ghana not exclusive or taking out of that list.
Right.
Just Friday, crude prices had soared to about 105.
Right.
It began easing a bit back to the 98, 96 region. But if you do a quick check, as of this morning, it's back to 103.
It fell to 101 at a point, and then I guess it has inched up again.
Yes. And so the challenge is now predictability and sustainability. Like rightfully indicated earlier, Europe would now be looking to buy for top dollar any cargo it gets across the Mediterranean. That means that for producers and exporters of oil, the time to cash in couldn't have been any better than now. And they will be waiting to maximize their returns as far as the tensions Ukraine, Russia is concerned. For Ghana, I have rightly indicated, I think a week ago when we had this conversation, that we are likely to see an upward increase of petroleum prices somewhere tomorrow. This is not because the oil marketing companies will it or because of new taxes, but simply because your cedi has depreciated so badly. Again, international market prices are also on the upward trajectory. So give or take, you are looking at anything between 8 cedi 20, 8 cedi 50 within the window that starts effective tomorrow. Those are some of the fallouts from the tensions you are seeing in prices would likely go way higher than they ordinarily would have if these tensions were not escalating by the day.
And tied to that, let me ask you a quick one, Duncan. Do you feel the sanctions so far on Russia, yes, some have said that they will take time to bite, but let's consider, Europe is considering, isolating Russia in terms of not allowing its flights into their airspace. Already, a lot of them have stopped dealing with Aeroflot from Russia. There have been sanctions on Sergei Lavrov, the foreign minister, and on Putin himself. The likes of Chelsea's owner Abramovich have suffered because of their alleged ties to Vladimir Putin. The ruble has taken a tumble on the back of economic sanctions. The SWIFT payment system, they are just standing by to enforce cutting Russia off, though the Russians could go to the Chinese with a different payment system. But looking at all these sanctions across the world, even as to as small ones as Vladimir Putin being removed as honorary president of the International Judo Federation. All of these are in there. Are these sanctions from where you sit affecting anything at all?
Not as far as the Russian stance is concerned. It looks as though the more we throw in the sanctions, the more hardened Putin gets. And if I was to have a take at the UN, I would rather advise that he be brought on closer to them as opposed to the threats of sanctions. In our tree parlance, we say the blind would not threaten to stone till he has a foot on something.
Right.
Now, whatever he has his foot on, we do not know.
Right.
What is, however, very clear here is that he is he is certain, right, to deploy nuclear if the world decides to go against him the way we are.
I don't know about the economic. I don't know about deploying them when there are only economic sanctions. He has warned that if anyone interferes militarily, then there would be consequences beyond the imagination of anybody in that respect. So I don't know about, but he has threatened. But he has put those in charge of deploying nuclear warheads on high alert. And while international analysts say he will not deploy, that is just another signal out there in international politics, isn't it? Duncan? Can you hear me, Duncan?
Well, you see, the economics either bite to behave in a certain way. Unfortunately, you have some of the larger economists abstaining. I'm yet to come across what sanctions China is asking or pushing on these Russians. I'm yet to come across what the Japanese are equally asking for. And so, whilst you sanction and other countries decide to still trade or do business with them, the impact will not be that much felt. But what I sense from the way Putin is going is that if in the end, interference could be in any form, if it is economic interference, people think that the economy of Russia should be crushed and all of that, then he would have no other option but to also wish to extend across Europe.
Well, and that would, of course, come
those
with...
are bits that I think the world needs to watch. There are things the world would need to keep a close eye on, because you don't want to have a hegemon. You don't want to have a unipolar system where whatever the American government interest is across the globe is what the world would have to tow to. Probably, I would be happy that the UN brings Putin closer. The tensions do not give any returns to the world economy because, like I indicated, if you sanction him, if you put him out of the world economic order, you are simply asking him to make his economy work in other ways. Making the economy work in other ways, I'm afraid he would now have to resort to probably either violent extremism or other ways of also raising income. I think that there's still a window, like Zelensky has said, he's probably ready now to meet and dialogue. That should be the way to go. Leaders would need to sit and talk.
Okay.
If the intention is to go out there and simply threaten, you can only threaten sometimes to a point. So you don't know what the other person would also want to do.
Even as we move past Russia, I mean, we are no longer in a unipolar world. China is making strides out there, and Russia itself is a regional power. So they would defend their own. But as to whether they would be willing to extend this and breach even more international protocols, imagine them, for example, attacking any of the countries that is in NATO. I mean, that then would be an action that they might not want to do, because then NATO, with all its different armaments and countries, would be coming hard against Russia, even though it currently is the country with the largest stockpile of nuclear weapons. But let's come home. Let's look at a few other stories. Demand rules of conduct from media owners. That's according to Prof. Kakari. He is calling on media organizations to have rules of conduct and engagement so that their journalists carry out their duties as professionals. There's also pay 5.7 million Ghana cedis to state. Shraj directs former PPA boss. I remember Manasseh Azure Awene on this one. And the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice has directed a former Chief Executive Officer of the Public Procurement Authority, Ejenim Boateng Ajay, to refund 5.7 million Ghana cedis to the state. The amount is to be paid into the consolidated fund within 6 months, and the receipt evidencing the payment produced before the Commission. It goes on and on. I know you followed this story, you remember it clearly, and the sums of money that all of a sudden appeared in Mr. Boateng's accounts. Do you feel this is what we've been looking for, the refund of the money into coffers? Some would tell you that if he was complicit, then why isn't he facing stiffer punishment, aka maybe being going through the court system and facing the full rigors of the law in terms of a prison penalty? What's your take, Duncan?
I do think that this is on corruption, clearly, and then abuse of office. I shudder to think what the response of government would have been if this was an appointee of a previous regime. I would be happy that the said individual, Mr. Jane, also decide to use the law within, if indeed this matter were to drag for them.
We happen to be struggling a bit.
For years on the scene, I'm certain that I don't know, I can't get you on this one.
Can you hear me?
There's quite a bit that needs to be done. If indeed we want to prove to the Ghanaian taxpayer that issues of corruption are issues we take as seriously. Right. Whatever refunds he needs to do to the state, I think that he should be magnanimous enough, concede that, I didn't get it all right. Certain things really did happen that shouldn't have happened.
Right.
If there's an apology to issue, if there's probably even, a court sentence and sometimes a fine, I think that we should be a demonstrable tenacity on the part of those in office now to go after some of these appointees who clearly violated their offices for economic benefits or interest. If this is not done, and then tomorrow morning, when a call has a problem of 500 citizens, then we use the law very hard on him.
Right.
Somebody goes to engage in something of 100, Ghana citizens, and then we say go in for 5 years. We only create a class system that empowers those who.
I get your point clearly.
Probably still more. Open profits are probably restrained and punished severely by the law. I'm sure the laws exist in our statutes, how to deal with corruption and corruption-related offenses.
Right.
We'll be happy to see to the end of this because Manasseh took a great risk to his life and person to go all out to get this story out there. Unfortunately, all that you have seen is a suspension of the said individual. I don't think we should institutionalize this so that tomorrow, if it is Duncan in there, he is also looking for how much to steal. And of course, when he is caught, the only solution will be to be asked to go home and enjoy whatever you stole. That should not be something that the state encourages. We should see the stronger arm of the state coming on into this matter and ensuring that the right and proper things are done. Where said charges ought to be done, We need to do them. We don't need to look at people from
Duncan.
Political perspectives or lens. Party, I'll go up. Those bits would need to stop. And I think that this is one of the clearest cases of abuse of office, of a certain power that probably took things too seriously and amassed wealth for himself. Unexplained incomes. Whatever that is, I think that he should be able to go to court and explain himself all possible. But the state should take a more entrenched interest in this to ensure that he doesn't get away with our money.
My takeaway: the state should take a more entrenched interest in this matter. On page 18, accept divergent views, Osei-Wusu, the first deputy speaker, to the Speaker of Parliament. And on the back page of the Daily Graphic, Etuga's brace Wednesday for Kotoko. Kotoko now perched, still perched at the top of the table with 40 points. And on same matches played with Bechem United in second, so a 10-point gap. Let's quickly look at some other papers. The Ghanaian Times, Ghana plans to evacuate citizens. That's according to the foreign minister. Former PPA boss banned 10 years from holding public office, directed by Shraj to refund 5.6 million to the state. Nungwa Manche charges EPA town and country planning to protect water bodies in the Greater Accra region. In other stories, 3 remanded over illicit trafficking in arms. That's on page 3. And on the international front, Putin puts nuclear deterrent on special alert. That was what I was talking about a while earlier. There's also on the back page of the paper, Oliface RTU today, Legon cities hold hearts. But Duncan, when it comes to our evacuation of our citizens, and I'm sure you followed what the Foreign Affairs Minister has been saying. From where you sit, how happy are you with the approach so far?
Of course, it doesn't look as though the attitude of non-interest is what is being exhibited by the Foreign Affairs Ministry. You see clear action being taken. The only bit I'm yet to see is probably how closely we are collaborating with the Russian embassy here to ensure safer passage for our nationals. You get in other reports where, of course, racism is still at play, even in times of war when people are trying to flee points of violence and extremism. You find a situation where people are still being discriminated against on the basis of their color to wait while the white folks are probably evacuated earlier. And if you are lucky, another train comes, then you probably can get to move. Those are bits that I do think we should protest strongly. If you don't do this now, that subculture continues to exist and become pervasive even in the coming days. If we do not send a stronger indication that our nationals be treated as fairly as every other national, any other person who needs assistance that is also duly deserved according to the protocols of war and other conventions. I do think that we are doing something. We are doing a lot now to get our nationals back home to safety. But within the geopolitical space, something more like a bit of, a stronger hand from the African governments ought to go out there to probably the security forces or whoever it is that is also ensuring people are able to move away from Ukraine and move to safety. That is probably the only bit remaining. But as far as I've monitored people returning back to Ghana or finding safer spaces within Europe to domicile currently, I do think that the Ghanaian government has so far done a very good job. The foreign ministry hasn't done badly at all with even a meeting that I'm told is to be had this morning where families of those students in Ukraine are probably all to meet to ensure that They have the right information,
Right.
who to look out for, whose telephone numbers are not working currently, and then whatever assistance that our students in Ukraine and nationals within the Russian-Ukraine boundaries would need. So every parent, every guardian, every relative of any of these nationals within Ukraine, I do think that the conference center should be a place you should be heading now, so that whatever assistance collective the state can provide, the state would also be able to go and look out for our citizens within the war ravaged Ukraine.
And we've seen a video that supposedly is of students, students of African extraction, who are being threatened to be shot. Again, I cannot confirm the authenticity of that, because in all of this, there's been a lot of misinformation and disinformation. But just to wrap, Duncan, a few more headlines. Court orders NDC MP to pay 100,000 cedis in damages, retract, apologize to MCE in 3 weeks. And then there is also man allegedly kills mother over his missing 100 Ghana cedis. That's in Republic Press. Publisher newspaper, Adwoa Safo enjoying NDC support as she snubs Akufo-Addo. Chief of Staff Osei Mensah, Chief of Staff Osei Mensah and the NPP alleging, according to the paper. And there is Economy Times, banks happy as the cedi falls, deepening BOT watchdogs trained to save public purse. The Publisher newspaper, Russia-Ukraine war, 460 Ghanaians evacuated, and Joe Wise ignore intolerant bagmen. That's his way of firing back. The final newspaper I'll do, The Finder. Government paid 16.45 billion to IPPs and fuel suppliers. That's according to Minister William Oreku-Edu. I didn't say we need e-levy to evacuate Ghanaians in Ukraine. That's according to Afenyo Markin, Mr. Deputy Majority Leader. If you didn't, then I must just say you sounded pretty much like it. UTAG directs all lecturers to return to work. 460 Ghanaians evacuated from Ukraine, and Navy gets 4 vessels to protect offshore resources. Well, Duncan, thank you so much for joining us. Maybe any last words for us in some 20, 30 seconds before we go?
Well, I will take my last words with the Adwoa Safo debacle.
Okay.
It is one of the most interesting outcomes you'll probably find in the parliamentary space as we have. What I have been thinking, okay, should MPP go ahead and say, okay, we are declaring that seat, or we are sacking her? Would you be in a position to see the NDC now say, okay, if you don't want her, we want her, And so if there's a by-election, you would probably find the NDC saying, okay, we don't want a candidate. Adwoa is our candidate. These are interesting times, but whatever needs to be done rightly should be done in Parliament. You cannot continue to have MPs absent for more than the 15, 20 days and still maintain their seats. If there's no justifiable reason for their absence and they need to vacate the seats, I do think that in the interest of the people who put them there to represent their views or represent those constituencies,
well, Duncan, thank you so much.
These MPs must give way when necessary.
Right. Point made. And that's an interesting bit you threw in there about whether the NDC would embrace Adwoa Safo post her rejection, so to speak, by her own party, the NPP. But this is where we actually sew it up for the news review. Up next, we have sports, and after that, the big stories will come your way. Do stay with us.
He was brought on to be the hero of the side, but unfortunately he became the villain as he skied his penalty and denied Chelsea an opportunity to win a title this season. And also, Kumasi Asante Kotoko have extended their lead at the summit of the Ghana Premier League table to 10 points after Accra House of Oak drew against Legon Cities. And what is happening in relation to the future of Russia participating in the World Cup qualifiers? Well, the FIFA Executive Council met on a Sunday, and my colleague Gary Al Smith has been speaking to Rob Harris of AP Sports, and we'll be sharing details of that with you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the last day of February edition of AM Sports here with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullah. Asante Kotoko, they are 10 points clear at the top of the Ghana Premier League following a 2-0 win over Dreams FC in Kumasi. Informed striker Etuga Mbella scored both goals in the second half as the Porcupines completed a double over Dreams FC this season. And also, on Saturday, Accra House of Oak were held to a 1-1 stalemate by Legon Cities.
Muntari's corner in, and that's the first goal for the Phobians. Sule Ali Muntari provides the assist, and it's Isaac Mensah connecting to Sule Muntari's corner. The Phobians are up by 1-0. It's a gem of a ball. It's a gem of a corner kick from Sule Muntari. That left boot, that left foot. The ball into the box was big. Muntari's ball from the corner kick. It's inviting by the defending, question marks about the defending from Nuruddin. Ifriyebanye, great shot, magnificent save from goalkeeper William Esu to deny Daniel Ifriyebanye. What a belter, but flew as well to match the save. That was a spectacular hit by Banye, but well matched by Esu. Yeah, when he's diving, he's applied every right technique for a goalkeeper. He's used his longest reach. Yeboah. Atukwe, and they find the equalizer. Osman Amadou breaks Phobian hearts in stoppage time as he finds the equalizer and puts the ball in, hoping that somebody gets onto his Kosa, who should be climbing the first time, but he takes one touch of the ball, looking to shield it, and the ball pops up to Amadou, and all Amadou had to do was put it down the laces, and his broken Phobian hearts here.
It's a tough one. Oh, this is an opportunity that he's been waiting for. Frank Mbella appeals for the penalty. Penalty kick to Kotoko is Kumson against Frank Etuga Mbella.
Here, takes the time and picks a spot, and super penalty, Prince.
Kotoko 1. An opportunity coming the way of Kotoko against the goalpost, and yes! Goal number 2!
Such an intelligent player, Etuga. He produces the magic. Yeah, there's no danger, but just look at the defending. Jalilu couldn't keep up with the pace. And here, after the ball struck the post.
Corner kick to Kotoko is floated in by Augustine Ejepo. Meanwhile, Suleiman Fahadu is on the field. Did that goal number 3?
From Etuga here with a series with a header.
We hear from the head coach of Accra House of Oak, Samuel Boadu, who is very unhappy with the outcome of the match against Legon Cities, and his rival on the touchline for the day was Maxwell Konedu. He says that House of Oak were a very tough opposition. And in the other game involving Dreams FC and Kumasi Asante Kotoko, the head coach of Asante Kotoko, Dr. Prosper Nate Ogum, says that fatigue is setting in his team because they've not had an opportunity of taking a rest before the second round of the Premier League began.
Yeah, it's very bad. Honestly, this is not what we want, but this is football. We always stay focused and always concentrate till the end of the game. If you lose little concentration, you'll be punished. That's what happened to us. But going forward, we believe that we have to go. It's a mistake, but it's an elementary mistake. We have to go home and correct that mistake.
Before the game, you complained about the nature of the pitch. Do you think it affected the flow of the game as well and the results?
Yeah, the pitch is not good at all. As you can see, this is a premiership. We all crying for the beauty of the game, but look at this pitch. Honestly, it's very bad.
Well, your next game, you need to obviously make a big response.
Yes.
What do you have to do for that?
Yeah, but we plan well against our next game. I think it's Wafa. We have to go all out to pick that 3 maximum points. I feel good, but it all comes with, the hard work we put in. You know, we did everything we could, but Hearts were very strong here. I must admit that Hearts were very, very tough here. We came in very strong in the second half, but still they were not giving us the chance to break them down. You know, but we spoke about one thing.
Yeah.
That is, from nowhere, that happened and we had our equalizer. So I have to give all credits to the boys and for the young guy, Osman, listening to instructions. That's all.
Now, the thing is, the goal came from nothing. You knew very well it could end up as a defeat, but how does that feel like a relief for you to have gotten that last minute goal?
We are very relieved. That one vital point is very, very important to us, you know. So at a point we thought that we have lost it. But I keep telling them they should keep pushing. We even added one defender to the attack so that we could force them to make mistakes. And we knew that one mistake will happen. What we did in the first half, so corner kick, nobody challenged the ball. It was a free header and we conceded. So we also had the belief that that one mistake will happen for us to also score. But it came at the time that we never thought it would come.
Maso, your opponents complained about the nature of the pitch. That could also disturb the flow of the game.
We should leave that to the club licensing authorities. The FA has to decide. I mean, this is our home and we have nowhere to go. We are here.
And it's so far looking good for you?
No, so far we haven't been beaten here, so it's good for us here. We are enjoying it.
We didn't have some days off. It's been training, playing matches, so it's fatigue. But then all over the world, I mean, good teams are able to win even on a very bad day, on a very difficult day. So I think it's good for the team that even though we didn't play as expected, the few chances that we got, we were able to create goals out of it, and I'm happy because the aim of the game is to score and get the 3 points. Sometimes it's not about how beautifully you play, but it's about how you get the points. And I think that was what we did today. We're able to get the points. I'm thinking of how to structure the training program, give them some rest so that they can recover fully and get back on track.
Welcome back on the AM show. It's time now for our big stories, and we start with what you see right there, fuel price hikes. And we're going to dilate on this matter to give us a fair view of what exactly is happening. We are looking forward to your interactions with us on social media with the hashtag AM show, and we'll activate the phone lines as well to take your perspective on the fuel price increments. We're also going to be discoursing with some drivers' unions to find out how they mean to roll out this 15% change. Some are threatening to roll out more than 15%. And we just might come to a bus or transport yard near you. So it's all about the fuel price hikes and the transport fares. We're bringing you everything there is to do with that. We know that on the back of that latest development, 15% increment. And I was walking you through some of the prices, Accra to Yeji, Accra to Tamale, or Kumasi to Tamale, and the differences in prices. Let's interact now with GPRTU's Deputy Secretary, Richard Amankwa. He joins us now for a conversation on this substantive matter. Mr. Amankwa, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you so much for joining us. So tell me, has the price increment taken effect? Those drivers under your union, has the 15% kicked in as of this morning?
Yes, please. Before I proceed, let me read you are listening. As you heard last week, the fare was adjusted around Monday. So we decided that in order to calculate the accurate fares for the various regions and the stations, we assured the public that the fare adjustment will start on Saturday. So lo and behold, it started. And as at now, we have not received any challenge around the country. All the regions, we have not yet received any report. that the passengers are agitating or anything of that sort.
So no agitations, but looking at the price differentials, I mean, we've been taking a look at some of them, especially long-distance transport, and it appears quite a lot has been added on. And you're suggesting that as far as your buses are concerned, there have been no complaints so far. Is that the point you're making?
Yes, please.
This 15% increment, there are some who have called for more. And they have even said, some of the unions have said that they would still do 30%. How does that, what is your reaction to that?
So our reaction is that we GPIT, we are well-established institution or transport union. Moreover, those who are calling for 30%, we met as a coalition of transport operators, commercial transport operators.
Right.
We are about 16 transport unions.
Right.
That came together to form that coalition. Aside that, we have GITCC. That is Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council. We two met. As well as that, we went to negotiation table with 30%. But after everything, we were able to reach 15%, which was the price agreed by the Transport Ministry.
Right.
So all along, all the stations are working with a 15% increase. So if any other transport union feels that the 15% is not what they are demanding for, then there's nothing we can say about that. But so far as GPIT is concerned, we are charging 15%. And as I said, all the regions and the stations are now operating with that 15%. Moreover, no one can.
But tell me, even before you go on, yes, you tabled 30% and you were granted 15%, half of what initially you felt was fair. Is the 15% enough? We've also heard some of you say that, look, if there are any increments at all, you'll add another 5% or so. So tell me very honestly, the 15% you were allowed to add on to your fares, was that enough?
The 15%, when you look at the communique which we issued, it was clearly stated that whenever the fuel price goes up to 10%, we are at liberty to increase our transport fare. So as at now, we are working with 15%. And as we said, so we were looking for 30%. But after considering the price and the situation in the country, we decided that we will go with the 15%. But we make it clear that whenever the petrol fares increase by 10%, we are going to add the same 10% to the current fares. So that was the agreement that we reached before we came out with that 15%.
So tell me, if some of the other unions go ahead with 30%, what would that mean, legally speaking? That would be a breach, right? What would that mean, technically?
For me, what I know is that we all were demanding for 30%.
Right.
So the fact that we are demanding for 30% is not automatic now. When we go to negotiation table, you get the same 30%. So that was the percentage the transport union came out with. But when we went there, that is very rich. So those who are still demanding for 30%, I think that is their choice. And moreover, when you go to the various stations, you see the percentage which we are charging. So who are requesting or who are agreeing for 30%, they know what they are doing. But we GPIT, we consider so many factors before we arrive at the 15%. So I can't speak for them. They are the transport union because we came together and we selected 3-man committee to go to market, to do the market survey, to come out with the percentage to be charged.
Right.
But after considering all those factors, then we decided that if we collect 15%, it will be, though it will not be better, but it will not destroy our business. It will stand where the commercial vehicles can work and get something out of it.
Tell me, right before I speak to your other colleague, do you feel that, and I'm sure you followed what is happening between Russia and Ukraine, are you afraid that it can only translate into higher fuel prices for you. We already know that the price per barrel has hit, $105. It's fallen a bit lower than that, but still around the $100 range. Do you have genuine fears about the fact that this could lead to further price increments?
Yes, as you said, we at the negotiation table, that is what we agree. That whenever the fuel price goes up, the expected that we can also increase the transport fare. So
yeah, but the question I'm asking is, yes, are you afraid that what is happening between Russia and Ukraine, and which has pushed prices per barrel up, by quite a lot, could affect us and also result in higher prices here? Do you have that fear? That's a simple bit I want to find out.
If I hear you well, yes, you have that in mind. That whenever the fuel goes up, we have the liberty to increase our fare. Isn't that the question you are asking?
Okay. All right. Let me bring in, just hold for me, let me bring in Adakabre Frimpong-Manso, General Manager, VIP Transport Services. Mr. Frimpong-Manso, thank you so much for joining the conversation, sir.
Good morning to you.
It's a pleasure having you, but I'm sure this Monday morning, those who are patronizing your services are not too happy because of that 15% increment. How has it panned out so far in terms of your buses and people having to cough up 15% more? What has the reaction been like?
So far, we have not received any adverse reaction to the increment. And you would agree that since June 5, almost 8 months ago, when we did the last adjustment, a lot of things have gone under the drain, and people noticed how generally the variables that we use in assessing our transportation requirements have gone so up. So far, we have not received any negative reaction to the adjustment.
Can you give us some of the price differentials when it comes to traveling from Accra to different places, what it looks like today? What are some of the differentials? If you can just use a few routes and give us the differences that we're seeing today.
Well, basically, Accra, Kumasi on the executive bus, we are doing from 60 cities to 70 cities. 60 to 70. The numbers are stable. We haven't seen any reaction. And we've done the furthest of the routes, that is the Boku, from 165 up to 190.
Right.
And the Boku first bus will leave at 12 noon today. So far, we've done about more than a quarter of the bookings.
Okay. So that's a 25 CD increment there, 165 to 190. Right.
That's at 165 to 190.
Right. Which is a 25 CD increment.
Yeah, basically 25 CD increment.
Right.
And we started the Boku routes with I would say an introductory price. So now we are coming to the realistic price on the ground. So at the time it was 165, we were more or less just about doing the introductory price. But for now, we've gotten to 190. And I'm saying that as yet, we have just a little over half booking for the 34-seater. And it remains to be seen by noon how it goes. So that is about the assessment on the furthest route on our table.
Out of curiosity, we oftentimes don't ask you when it comes to this aspect of controlling fuel prices. What are your thoughts on how we can, as a country, control fuel prices with regulation, maybe decrement of taxes and all of that? What is your take on that? Because this is a reality we are facing now.
Yes, petroleum product prices may not necessarily be the only variable that we look at. There are other variables that have gone that high. And you look at insurance on a brand new bus, we are looking at 60,000 a year premium.
Right.
And then you are looking at cost of taking delivery of the bus, the duties at the port, and that one has also gone higher. So when you look at all the variables, and then you even look at the cost of maintenance, you schedule a bus from Accra to Wa. By the time it comes back to Accra, the kind of maintenance you do also really affects the operations. So there are so many variables that we look at, not necessarily just the 32% increment from the June 2005, June 5, 2021 up to date, that has seen a 32% increment in fuel prices. That is not about the only option or the only variable we look at.
And for those of you watching, we're doing this intentionally to give you a picture of what exactly is pertaining out there. Like has been mentioned, Accra to Boku, if you're using VIP transport services, it's moved from 165 cedis to 190. You'd have to top up with an extra 25 cedis to make the 15% difference. Just hold for me, gentlemen. We'd like to sample some views on social media as well, Facebook and others. And you can shoot us a message with the hashtag AM Show. But let's check out some of what you've been saying. And this one says, of course, the question we put out there, transport fares have gone up by 15%. How will this affect your budget? Share with us on the AM Show. Some of you have been responding. Let's get to them. Mandela says, I am very keen on why there's a shortage of condoms in Ghana. We're asking the government to look into this matter before things go astray. Back to you in the studio. Interesting dynamic there. You know, we're talking fuel prices and someone is concerned about contraceptives, but that is his concern, a valid one. This one says, Ajay says, some charges reflect a higher percentage in increase than the 15%. And that is another problem, topical one. I'll be coming back to you, gentlemen, on that bit, because sometimes 15% it doesn't have a pure equivalent. So they roll to the next highest figure. This one says, Nash says, simply, you have to find more money to pay for transport. Is this a question? Okay, so you are downplaying that. But the fact is that, I mean, it doesn't come that easy, making the extra means. Alexander says, Ashaiman is 25%, not 15. You can go there and check from Ashaiman to Dawenya. That is 4 Ghana cedis, and now it is 5 Ghana cedis. Of course, if you do the math, then indeed it would be something around 20 to 25%. Akude says, we need tires under our feet now, maybe wings to fly, on a lighter note. Owusu says, however, the mates or conductors cannot accurately calculate the percentage increase. They are just adding any amount and they will not give you your change. Big problem, like we see all the time when there are price increments. Orlando says, I am going to cancel my breakfast. So for him, it is biting in terms of even what he's going to take in. That is someone's reality. We also have Greg Burt, who says, it has already affected my budget. Of course it will affect your budget when there's a change. Bukari Amo says, just stop my work to start my own business. And that is what you're saying. So maybe, you know, the trajectory of going to work and coming back, you want to start your own business. But your own business, you would have to go somewhere, right? There's Yankee who says, hey, 15%. Then please, we that ply, I think you meant ply the Kukrobite Road, are being milked by the transport union. So I think SZ Yankee also has a point here, because he would also be suggesting that he's having to cough up much more than the 15% increment. And that is something, a thread we see running through. Haruna says, now the government can do whatever they like. That is how you feel. Abrantia Kweku Spark says, I will walk, last time I walked from Oyarifa to Medina. Hey, my guy, Oyarifa to Medina. But on a more serious note, if the fares keep going up, some people may have to resort to walking. Good exercise, but not exactly exercise that you would want. Oyarifa to Medina is not exactly the kind of thing you would do on an ordinary day. And you say, I was just targeting the overhead bridges, and then boom, I reached Medina. So this person got there without even realizing he had been doing that much walking. Let's take a few more. Rhino says, bicycle to the rescue. And if you have a bike around this time, it just might be your saving grace. Robert basically says, more than 15%. more than 15%. So this is becoming problematic, and we just might have to speak to the unions and get their take on this matter, because every now and then when there are fuel price increments, this is what happens. And the ordinary Ghanaian who is boarding the vehicle is the one who suffers the brunt of these actions. Are we being fair? Ibrahim Razak says, next time when you hear, okay, I can't read this comment. It is not in good taste. And I'm sure those of you who can see it know exactly what I mean. Fred Mensanyako says, not at all, because I am trained to adapt to situations that affect me, most in incompetent media. Okay, like ours? Really? Okay, so let's just put this into perspective. All we did was put out there how you were adjusting your budget to deal with this situation. I believe this is uncalled for, but hey, you say the media hardship on Ghanaians is more than cost of transportation fees. Your thoughts, and of course, opinions are like onions. We all have them. We respect your opinion all the same. So those are some of the thoughts that you've been sharing with us, but maybe we could just have a final bite with those from the unions and, of course, from the VIP who joined us. So let me find out from you, Adakabre Frimpong Manso. For you, can you say specifically that you are sticking to 15% in terms of the increment on your charges? I just want confirmation of that.
Oh, basically, we look at those statements from the GRTCC as an outline, a recommended price, but not necessarily binding on us as a 15% increment. So basically, we just look at the situation, look at the operations, look at the cost of variables, and then decide what is the realistic fare on the route, but not necessarily what GRTCC has put about. So yes, 50%.
Wait, so are you suggesting to me? Are you suggesting to me, Mr. Frimpong Manso, that in some instances the charges you've added to these fares are actually more than 15%? Because you say it's merely an outline. So are we looking at, in some cases, 20%, for example?
Yeah, that is basically what I'm saying. That we look at that as an outline, a recommended price. But obviously, so many things go into pricing on that particular route. We even look at competition and to decide whether to maintain a lower price than the 15%. And there are certain areas that you may then move on to say give more than 15%. So basically, we are looking at a realistic way of working on the operations such that we do not lose up so much, as I said earlier on.
Let me stay with me. Let me do some quick mathematics here. I just want to see what. So let's say the Accra to Boku fare, for example, stood at 165 cedis. Let's divide that by 100, which would give us 1.65, and multiply that by 15. So actually, you've added some 25 cedis, but what you should have been adding per the 15% would have been 24 cedis, 75 pesos. So it means that for those plying Accra to Boku, you've added 15% plus a little extra, so they are paying an extra, let's say, 25 pesos, which makes it interesting. Let me come to the Richard Amankwa, Deputy Secretary at the GPRTU. For you as well, some of the comments we saw about people saying you're adding more than 15%. Some say in a Shaiman, for example, you're adding like 25%. Is this true? Mr. Amankwa, are you with me?
Yes, I'm here. It's
right.
Not that what we always do is that whenever the prices are out, we ask the various stations, that's the executives and the station masters at all the stations. We will calculate the 15% for them, and they will paste it on the notice board at the station. So it's not true that the drivers doesn't know what they're supposed to charge. We have everything clearly pasted or pasted at the lorry station. So when you go there, you ask for GPS to station, you see that the prices are there. Because we have shared taxis, intercity and intracity. That is the reason why we always give ourselves some period for all the stations, all the regions, to calculate the 15% and paste it on the notice board so that anyone who is coming to take the bus will know what to pay.
But what is the essence of having it on the notice board if people are going to pay more than that anyway, if people are going to be charged more than what is on the notice board? Because apparently what people are saying here, it tells you that some are charging as much as 25%, which is close to the 30% you were looking for. So some among your union are just finding the loopholes in there to extract, or better still, extort more money from ordinary citizens.
Oh, it's not like that. We are not charging that. We are not charging 25%, as you said. We are charging 50%.
I didn't say it.
Come again?
I didn't say it. It is those who sent in messages, who are those people out there. They are suggesting it.
As for this, it's likely that some of these disparities will happen. In some cases, some of the mates will charge more than what is expected of them. But that isn't the majority case. And as I said earlier, we have all the fares at the various stations. So we will not admit that the people, our members, are charging 25%. It's not like that. Because we have not received any complaint of that sort. And as I said earlier on, our stations, all the stations, has their fares over there. So when you go there, you ask for the price before you board the bus or the car. Secondly, on some stations, we have the ticket, we sell ticket. So the fare will be on the ticket, the porter or the station master will give to you.
Okay.
So we are not saying such cases will not happen, but as I can say, the minor ones, there are some stations that these challenges will arise. But with whole, the majority of them are working with the 15%.
All right. So my final bit to you very quickly: are you going to go round, these stations as the GPRTU to ensure compliance with the 15%, to ensure that Ghanaians are not getting ripped off? Do you do that? Do you have a plan?
Yes. As I said earlier, we are well established. Every station has executives and the station master.
Right.
Every loading point, we have GPRTU officers there. Aside that, we have our station guys at most of the stations. Okay. So the moment we announce the price, they will see to that what we have announced or what we have approved will be the fare they will charge at the various stations. So our stations are working with the 15%. And as you said, all the regional executives are going around, they have gone around to monitor all those fares. And all the stations are complying with what we have told them to charge.
Okay. All right.
So I can boldly say that our union are working with the 15%.
All right. We're going to trust you to do that. Mr. Amankwa, thank you so much. Deputy Secretary with the GPRTU, and of course, Mr. Frimpong Manso as well with the VIP circuit. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. Let's now cross over to somewhere near you, where my colleague Mapito Sibidi is standing by. She's at the Obra spot, actually. Mapito, if you can hear me and we're connecting to you via Zoom, what exactly is the situation at the Obra spot bus terminal? What have people been sharing with you this morning?
All right, Benjamin Akako. Now, the passengers have been very sad and disappointed in the government. That's what a lot of people of them are saying. Is that, okay, listen, Ghana is in an economic crisis. Why would you now add 50% into our daily transportation? And I spoke to some of the passengers, some of them who are taking the shared taxis really have no problem. They're just like, you know what, it is what it is. I will just continue with that. There's really nothing we can do. When I spoke to some of the drivers are actually quite excited because this means
that more money is coming into their pockets, but because of the fuel increase, the money that was coming into their pocket is actually now coming out of their pocket. So some mixed reactions from here on Brass Sports, Benjamin. But passengers are really not happy about this. Drivers, on the other hand, are not happy, but there's nothing that they can do about it because they say that since the fuel is increasing, they might as well also increase the transport fares.
So interesting perspective about the fact that even the increments will be absorbed by the fuel prices themselves. But I just want your quick take on this. Have any of those boarding the vehicles told you about the fact that maybe what they are being charged is more than the 15%? We've got such reports on social media, some suggesting as high as 25%. Any such complaints coming your way?
So far from the people that I spoke to, no complaints like that. All of them are being charged the 15%. But there's one particular case of two gentlemen who were traveling to the north with their goods. And they said that they're not sure that they're supposed to be paying what they are paying, because at first they were paying 6 cedis and now they have to pay 9 cedis. So it's just been one case that I have observed that they're charging 25%, Benjamin.
Right. Mapito, thank you so much for connecting with us with the latest from the Obra Sport. Mapito Sibidi there. But of course, if they were paying 6 cedis and now they are paying 9 cedis, that would be, what, a 50% increment. So hopefully that is not true, unless maybe the goods they were carrying were factored in. We've given you a bit of a global view of what is happening out there in terms of the fuel price increments. But don't you forget, you can still share your thoughts with us. With the hashtag AMShow. Just go to Facebook, JoyNews, and share with us your thoughts. What is your reality wherever you're going across the country? Share with us. We'd love to know. We continue with the rest of our big stories as we talk about that exchange between the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, and, of course, the First Deputy Speaker, Joe Osei-Wusu. More on that coming your way shortly. Stay. We're grateful to you. Thank you for staying with us. We're still on our big stories, and the second one we're taking a look at is the tension, the simmering tension between the Speaker of Parliament, the Right Honourable Alban Bagbin, and his First Deputy, Joe Osei-Wusu, who doubles as Member of Parliament for Bekwai. Now, why exactly have we got to the point where we have to talk about them? You will notice that the Speaker of Parliament has been, ill a few times. He's been under the weather, had to travel. And on some of those occasions, the First Deputy Speaker has been in the seat, in charge, so to speak. And on some of those occasions as well, the First Deputy Speaker has set aside those things, those motions, those decisions of the Right Honourable Speaker. That is why this has become a matter of focus, because in one of them, in terms of COVID-19 expenditure, what the minority has been pushing for and put forward a private member's bill, the Speaker ruled, he decided on that matter, only for him when, in a subsequent session of Parliament, the First Deputy Speaker was in the chair to determine otherwise. That is what resulted in the Speaker in what you're about to see next, where he actually had some choice words for the First Deputy Speaker. Watch this.
Another issue that requires addressing is the decision of the First Deputy Speaker to upend my admission of the motion and rule that the motion should not have been admitted in the first place. Honourable members, it is interesting to note that this is the second time the First Deputy Speaker has taken the chair and has made a ruling which, in fact, was to overrule a position I had earlier on established before the House. In fact, the First Deputy Speaker was in my office. And what I'm telling you today I told him before he left to the airport. The first deputy speaker has contended, and rightfully so, on several occasions, that he is not the speaker. I have also, on several occasions, alluded to various areas of parliamentary practice, where when the speaker is in the chair, makes a ruling, another presiding officer may not overturn that ruling. The penchant of the first deputy speaker to overrule my rulings is, to say the least, unconstitutional, illegal, and offensive. Be that as it may, I shall not be taking any steps to overrule the decision of the first deputy speaker to dismiss the motion as moved by the honorable ranking member of the Finance Committee. The deputy speakers and I will deliberate on how to present a more coherent and uniform structure in respect of rulings so that the House is guided at all times during deliberations.
And so that was the thinking of the Right Honourable Bagman. But that has given cause to the first Deputy Speaker to also respond, and he says he's been treated unfairly. You notice the language there from Bagman, unconstitutional and all of that. Well, on News File this past Saturday, Joe Osei-Wusu had this response.
The charge, or is it allegation, that I have done something unconstitutional, I've done something offensive, is most unfair to me. I've given a narration of the matters leading to the ruling. Indeed, I have stated clearly that the motion which I ruled had been admitted by Mr. Speaker himself. There's now disagreement, should I say, or discrepancy as to whether he said I should admit the motion or I should permit the deputy leader to move the motion before secondment or after it has been seconded. I thought I heard that he said after it has been seconded. And if you watch the proceedings, I stated clearly that I'm going by what I heard Mr. Speaker say. So whilst I thought I was going by what he says rather he said the opposite. Be that as it may, once the motion had been admitted, it ought to be moved. And once it was moved, it had to be ruled upon. The fact that the Speaker may have ruled differently, does it make mine offensive? It only shows that we look at the same thing from different perspectives. And that is my challenge.
Yeah, his view is that what you did was not only illegal, unconstitutional, and offensive, but tantamount to insubordination. Now, you say...
Well, the insubordination was in respect of the ruling about the budget, the purported rejection of the budget.
That's right. Now you say that on that occasion, you characteristically elected not to comment on the Speaker's statement in public in order not to create the impression that there is tension between him and his deputy.
Yeah.
But is there no tension between the two of you?
Frankly, in my view, there's no tension. We disagree on the way we interpret things. Indeed, I've taken my time to explain. When he was chairman of the Constitutional and Legal Committee, I was the ranking member. On a number of occasions, we disagreed strongly. I recall when we were discussing the property rights of spouses, we took two very strong differing views. Because we couldn't reconcile, he actually said that we should refer the bill back to the executive because the leadership can reconcile. I'll recall exactly. That is not the only time we have disagreed. So disagreeing with him is not new. But to say that disagreeing with him now, because probably he's now the Speaker, is insubordination, is most unfair. And in my view, the height of intolerance of other views.
So what do you make of it? insubordination or not, unconstitutional or not. The Speaker says it is, and he says he told the first Deputy Speaker exactly that when he had a confab with him one-on-one in his office. And he said same, on the floor of Parliament. The first Deputy Speaker disagrees. But let's find out from someone who has watched Parliament for a long time, who knows the workings of Parliament, knows the standing orders, and what he thinks about this development. Executive Director, Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs, Dr. Rashid Rahman, joins us on this beat. Dr. Rahman, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
All right, pleasure having you. Your initial thoughts on this bit, and Joe Osei-Owusu has actually made mention of the fact that he doesn't have the privilege of using Article 53(1)(e), the standing orders of Parliament, to his advantage, like the Speaker can. And so this was the only resort he had left. We'll address how relevant it was for him to come out and do this, but let's talk about the whole pot of issues. Private Members Bill, Speaker gives his ruling on it. There's a vote, and it is seconded. He gives his decision on it. On another encounter following that, you have the first Deputy Speaker, who is not a speaker or the speaker, at least per what the Speaker of Parliament has referred him to, and who has overturned that. What is your initial reaction to that development? Should that have happened?
I don't want to go into, there's certainly politics playing out here, because let's just step back for a minute and ask the question. Assuming we didn't have a split parliament the way we do have it now, assuming we didn't have a speaker who was from a different party than the first deputy speaker, would we be seeing this public display of, differences between the number one person and the number two person in Parliament?
Right.
I don't think so. I think if it was the seventh Parliament where the Right Honourable Michael was Speaker and the same Right Honourable Joseph Osei, who was Deputy Speaker, I'm sure they had their own share of disagreement. I don't think that everything that the Right Honourable Speaker did then, was fully or 100% supported by the first Deputy Speaker. But I believe they found a way of dealing with their differences, in a democratic way and in a way that doesn't give any impression that the office of the Right Honourable Speaker, which is himself and his two deputies, an impression that office is under any stress or that they couldn't work together. Look, in every human institution, let's be real, let's be frank with ourselves.
Right.
Conflicts occur. But I think for me, the way those conflicts are dealt with, I think is what gives them a clear sign that in a democracy, I think we have a way of dealing with our differences, without those differences coming out into the full public glare where people who are watching will say, it looks like there are no rules and there are no mechanisms for dealing with these differences. Right. So that is the point from which I am coming. And I think whatever is happening, I don't want to say who is right here and who is wrong, because it's subject to all kinds of interpretation. The most important thing is that I think the Right Honourable Speaker and his deputies must find a way to talk and to continue to talk. Because, this is the second time this has happened.
Right.
And I think on all occasions, the Right Honourable Speaker has said, I'm not going to overturn what my deputy has done.
Right.
So can you imagine if we have this, ping pong, this one turns it, this one turns it upside down, this one turns it, this one turns it upside down. We would have been having now, a situation in Parliament that would have been worse than what we currently do have.
So are you conceding that there is some power play, especially because they come from different parties with different traditions? There is some power play between the Speaker and the First Deputy Speaker. Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, watching closely, without having all the details and looking at where each of them is coming from, cannot but, maybe arrive at that conclusion. That it might be an erroneous conclusion. But what I was saying earlier was that I don't think that Honorable Joe Wise, our First Deputy Speaker, and Right Honorable Michael Quaid, Speaker in the Federal Parliament, didn't have disagreements. But we didn't see those disagreements play out in the public domain as we do see the disagreements between the two honorable gentlemen currently in the 8th Parliament.
Right.
So there could be some issues of power play here.
Before we get into the technicalities and maybe moving forward what we can do you feel, on the back of all the things we've seen in Parliament, and I recall one of the last times we had an engagement on even Parliament in general and how they have conducted themselves as parliamentarians, the fighting here and the running away with ballots there and all of that, and your assessment of them, the score you gave them. And now we see it at the very leadership of Parliament with the Speaker and the First Deputy. Do you feel these actions in this context, focusing on the Speaker and his First Deputy, and even the Second Deputy, some of the things that have happened, do you feel all of this is putting Parliament, bringing some disrepute to Parliament? Do you feel these exchanges are bringing Parliament into disrepute?
Certainly, because you see, like everybody is saying, our economy today is not doing as well as, for instance, maybe a year or two ago. We saw all the rating agencies and their assessments. Whether we agree or disagree, I think depends on so many factors. And when all these things happen, it's not like an individual when they are rating your credit score. They look at just simply how you pay your debt or not.
Right.
In the case of a country, particularly in the case of our country, I believe all the things that are happening in Parliament have significantly contributed to that perception that, look, there is some confusion, there is some disagreement. It looks like the leaders are not able to see eye to eye and so on and so forth. And that certainly affects the image of Parliament, especially coming on the back of all the fights that we have seen and so on, and have contributed to, what we do have now as an assessment of our country in general and as an assessment of the economic performance of our country. So certainly, without a doubt, all these things happening have an impact, and a negative one, of course, on the image of the institution. If you sit back and look at maybe the data that is out there, Afrobarometer put out some data, I think in 2019, looking at the trust in our public institutions and so on, and levels of corruption. Parliament is only behind the police and the judges and magistrates. So Parliament is number 3 in terms of the perception of people of this country, about its performance, about the conduct of the people in that house, and so on and so forth. So all these things happening, whether it's disagreement about the e-levy or whether it's a disagreement between the Right Honorable Speaker and his deputy or deputies and so on, all this adds to, the growing, disturbing negative perception about Parliament. And the only way that I believe, there's only one way to come out of this. That's talking and talking and finding ways as masters of their own rules to design mechanisms to dig out of the current hole that they find themselves.
Right. So to design mechanisms, just because you broached the subject of the economy as well. I just want to find out, some have said that the Speaker is becoming overweening in terms of his utterances, and that he feels he is more than he is, so to speak, just because he's on the other side, so to speak, of the political aisle. And one thing comes to mind that has been referred to. In recent times, the Speaker, on that same day actually, spoke about the fact that government, maybe even in the next 3 months, will not be able to meet its obligations of paying public sector workers. That shocked many, and he said he had it on authority. I mean, he had heard from the grapevine, if you like, that was the case. Some feel there was nothing wrong with that he was actually acting in good faith. I listened to Dr. John Kumar say that he feels the Speaker was just, trying to let people know about the economic times. But some have felt it was a wrong move. How do you feel about that? And do you think the Speaker's utterances, even stretching it to when he tells members of Parliament to shut up and that they make him sick, do you think the Speaker's utterances also ought to be looked at, that he ought to be more measured? What do you think?
Yes, certainly. I think you're not the only one who has raised it. A lot of people have raised this concern, members of Parliament and so on. And I believe the Speaker is carefully listening. And I think I'm hoping that in the coming days and months we might see some change in perhaps maybe in his utterances. But let me put it in perspective, if you allow me. This is the Speaker who was in Parliament the very first day and has seen, I think about 7 different speakers and 7 different parliaments.
Right.
Over the course of our pop democratic experiment. And like he said that day, he has been to many parliaments around the world. So have I. I have also, through the work that we do at the African Center for Parliamentary Affairs, I've been to, if you like, almost all the parliaments that exist on this continent and in other parts of the world. I've been in UK, in Europe, in Canada, in Australia, all over the place, China, India. And, when you look at some of the things that happen in our parliament,
right,
certainly we can do better, to be very honest with you.
I want you to hit the nail on the head. Generally, I know we can do better, but the Speaker, in terms of his utterances, do you feel he himself can do better?
Yes, of course. As I said, a lot of people have raised very serious concerns about that. And I believe, he has listened. He has listened and listened very carefully. So I am sure that in the coming days and months, as I said, we might see some difference in the approach that the Right Honorable Speaker will take as he deals with the conduct of members in the House.
Okay. Let's now look at the fact that, there seems to be this back and forth, push and pushback between the Speaker and his first deputy. And the latest being that a statement was issued, a 5-page statement, quite a read, pretty long actually. And then on Newsfile as well with my colleague Samsaladi Anyani, the first deputy speaker shared his thoughts there as well, feeling he had been treated unfairly. But was that response necessary? He says he doesn't have the opportunity or the privilege of exercising Article 53(1)(e) of the Standing Orders, which speaks about formal communications. And so he had to come into the fray with this statement and also speaking in the media. Was he not just pouring, fuel onto an already raging fire? How appropriate was this response?
Well, I don't want to judge the first deputy speaker, but what I can say is that certainly when there is conflict and there is disagreement, as our elders say, I think the best thing that everybody can do, all the protagonists can do, is to shut up and to be very measured. I think because the statement, counter statements, and so on, only exacerbate an already difficult situation. And let's be very, very honest. At the end of the day, no matter what statements are made, no matter what utterances are made, they have to find a way, because they would have to sit in that house together until we have another election where maybe the outcome that is produced is different. This is what we have, and we have to find a way to make it work. And those at the House, Speaker and his deputies, majority leader, minority leader, have a very, very important role to play.
Right.
They can either make or unmake this parliament, and by extension, they can make or unmake our country at this critical moment in our history. I think in his own right, like you said, he doesn't have some of the powers that the right honorable speaker has. Because in the business statement, at the beginning of every session of a meeting, the speaker has the power to issue formal communication.
Right.
Yes, he doesn't have. But I believe we can work out some other mechanisms, because these are some of the gaps and the shortcomings of our standing orders and our constitution.
Right.
You go to some countries, the speaker and his deputies are all members of parliament, and they vote and so on and so forth. Right. We have a different arrangement in this country. And with all these things that are happening, perhaps this is the time, as we do have it in our standing, the standing orders are not finalized yet. So this might be an opportunity to sit back and imagine all kinds of possible, scenarios, even worst case scenarios than what we do have now, split parliament and so on. Imagine all kinds of scenarios and try and see how we can prepare our standing orders, we can prepare ourselves, to be ready for these kinds of scenarios if they do occur in the future.
If they do occur. I just want to wrap with you on the Adwoa Safo conversation, but just to clarify what you said, just give me a yes or no answer on this, Dr. Draman. So you're saying that in the first deputy's shoes, this was unnecessary and you wouldn't have come out with all of this, right? The statement and all of this. If in his shoes, you wouldn't do that.
Well, all I'm saying is that statements and counter statements do not help the current situation that we find ourselves in.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, if they talk less, I think, and they do more behind the scenes, it will be better for all of us.
Okay, so just to wrap on the Adwoa Safo situation, we have time and again, there have been instances cited where members of parliament have been absent 15 times back-to-back. Some say 18 times. Some, I think, is it Lower West Akim MP in the 7th Parliament in 2019, going for, as has been suggested, about a year absent from Parliament. Now we have the Adwoa Safo situation. What do you make of all this, and what would you like to see? In just about a minute, Dr. Draman, what would you like to see done in that respect?
Yeah, what I would like to see done is perhaps let's go back to our standing orders and let's make sure that these matters are taken very seriously, so that one day we don't find ourselves in a situation like we do now.
Right.
When somebody, whose case, because of the political nature of it and because of the times that we live in, the case is brought to the full glare of the public and so on. And then, we start hearing somebody did this in the past and nothing happened and so on. They have rules about how to deal with these things. And in many parliaments around the world, that is where they are different from our parliament. When these things happen, I think the processes and procedures and the rules kick in immediately, so that it sends a very clear signal that this cannot be tolerated in a house like this.
Should Adwoa Safo be removed? Should Adwoa Safo be removed?
Well, I think that if indeed she has absented herself, 15 times consecutively without, and I think that that's where the emphasis is, without the permission of the Right Honourable Speaker and without reasonable explanation. That's what the rule says. I'm not the one who is going to be saying this. The rule is clear. But whether Parliament will apply the rule now or, as it didn't do in the past, that is where the conundrum is.
Okay.
And I think, that is where they have to be careful and make sure that, the rules are applied in a way that is very, very fair.
Okay.
And at all times, whoever is found foul of the rules, no matter the person standing, let the rules take its course, so that, in a situation like this, you don't have any difficulty. It's clear.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Draman. Always, interesting talking to you about these matters. Dr. Rashid Draman, Executive Director, Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs, and he says they should, follow their own rules and apply them without fear or favor, but they shouldn't, apply it without fairness. We still continue with some major bits, and we're coming to you next with our classroom project. We're bringing you an update. You've joined us, held our hand to bring that project to life. We'll bring you details of that up next on The AM Show. Well, here we are again, continuing with this bit as we bring you the classroom project, thanks to you. Now, let's talk to the Hydroform tech expert on the multimedia classroom project. Where are we now exactly? Well, we find out from him. We're joined by Samuel Kofi Agbenyega, Hydroform technology expert on the classroom project. Mr. Agbenyega, thank you for joining us this morning. It's been, we've moved, we keep making stride upon stride in the classroom project, partly thanks to Hydroform. But tell us, what is this technology, Hydroform?
Okay, Hydroform is a technology that was invented in South Africa. It's more than 30 years ago. And it's cheaper, stronger, and then it's also a fireproof technology for...
Fireproof?
Yes.
Wow.
And then we use the topsoil, which we call lightrite. We add cement and then the normal sand. We mix these materials to mold the block with a Hydroform technology machine.
Okay.
So now what happens is that you actually take the soil through certain series of tests before you could know that, okay, this soil is actually qualified to be applied or to be used
Wow.
to mold the blocks.
Wow.
So you don't just get up to use any soil. The soil must go through the test. And you must be certain that it's passed the test before you can apply them. Yes. So then what happens is that it's a dry stick. Like this one, you don't use mortar to hold the blocks. You interlock, you just arrange them, as you can see on the screen, that we just laid it after the blocks have gone through some series of
So they're kind of like pavement blocks. You just interlock them.
Yes, exactly. You interlock them. So it's cost saving because you save cost on more mortar work like cement and all that. But it's very effective.
How appropriate is it for this classroom project, for example, where we're talking of where children will be and, you know, for a long time? Are they long lasting?
Yes. This structure would have a life expectancy of not less than 100 years.
100 years?
Because the fact of the matter too is that this one we did strictly interlocking. The pillars are interlocking throughout. There's no rod that running through the pillars on the main structure. But the foundation has iron rods and everything in there. Now, what is going to happen is that because iron rods, they have their life expectancy, like maximum 25, 30 years, they begin to expand and there'll be cracks in the columns. But this one, because there's nothing like that, it will just remain as it is.
Wow.
And will face any harsh weather condition.
Regardless of the elements, come rain, come sunshine.
And if it should be a fire outbreak in the structure, the structure will still be intact. Although the material, maybe the fuel, things that can fuel fire, like maybe the wood works and all that, they will burn. But the structure itself will remain intact because it's fireproof.
So worst case scenario, there is some unforeseen circumstance and God forbid that there is a fire situation. Yes, the wood and the rest would suffer, but the blocks themselves would remain intact.
Yes, it will be intact.
Wow. Tell us, how far has the project advanced? I mean, the last time I had my colleague MFA here, she gave us a good view of what is happening. How far has the project advanced as of now?
Okay, currently we are on the lintel stage.
Okay.
Yes, initially we had some few technical and then social challenges on site. Like when we went, we were made to understand that we're going to get labor from the community, which is communal work.
Right.
But being a city boy, I thought that, okay, they come in the morning and leave in the evening. Not knowing that that area, they come for communal work from morning to by 11 a.m. Everybody leaves.
Oh, wow.
So that means that it's going to affect my scheduled time of completion on the structure. So it means that you have to wait till when there's a communal labor, then you can get them in the numbers that you want.
So you had to find alternatives.
So you have to find alternatives. You need to talk to the assemblyman. The assemblyman has been very supportive. In fact, I must give credit to him. At one point, if it hadn't been for him, I would have left the site. But I had to understand the situation because looking at the existing structure where the students are right now, it's shaking. And one cannot go to sleep
knowing that at any moment,
these kids are in such a danger and you need to get them out of the place as soon as possible. And I had to consider all these things, looking at the extent at which life have to be saved. So we have to bear every cost. I mean, sacrifice a lot just to make sure that the structure gets to where it is. But we still need support. Trust me, we still need support. We've had support from the DCE and then the chiefs, but we need support.
I know the chief in particular has been very, in fact, it is part of his, an engagement with him, you know, that sort of triggered all of this. And the community members also contributing their bit. But we need a lot more support to bring this to completion. Tell us technically about what kind of support we need. I mean, yes, the money and all of that, but what technically will it go into to complete the project?
Okay, at the moment, we need more materials.
Okay.
We need more material. We are at the lintel level. We need to cast the lintel, get a roof on it, and then also make sure that we do the finishing touches on the structure to be able to move the kits in. After that, we need some ceiling fans, some electrical works must be done. Make sure that we give them a structure that they will live with it for the rest of their lives. And we have to leave a monument that people will know that, okay, Joy or Multimedia came to rescue these kids. And it will be interesting to know that the structure where they are, there was one that is also closer to the school, which is called the Matadi School. The roof just got ripped off, I think about 2 weeks ago.
Just recently?
I'm telling you.
It got ripped off?
The same place where the kids died, where the building collapsed and then those kids died. So you see how important it is as Ghanaians. I mean, it's not about politicians. It's not about the government. Government cannot do everything for us. We must be sacrificial to touch lives. I mean, these are the little things that God will always remember and make difference in people's life. Because you put your comfort aside and make sure that you sacrifice for somebody to survive.
Look, for those of you watching us, if, God forbid, there were another story about another collapsing school building, we'd all come here, talk about it, and, oh, it's such a sad incident. We can prevent that. And that is why we at the Multimedia Group have taken the initiative. You can help us actually achieve this one at a time. Like he said, government can't do everything. So what we can do, let's do for the little ones. So how, if you had to put monetary value to some of what is needed, I mean, put it together and say, we've done this, but we need about this amount to move forward. How much would you say?
I think at the moment we will need nothing less than 30,000 Ghana cedi to finish.
Nothing less than 30,000.
30,000 Ghana cedi. And then, so we have this number that if you are touched and you want to support the project,
Right.
because I am doing it for free. I'm not being paid. None of my workers are being paid. We're just there sacrificing to make sure that we bring this school to the community. So if you are also out there and you want to help multimedia to complete this, the number is 059 3038 832. And it's a multimedia number, Momo number. You can send your contribution there. And then also you can do further inquiries through MFA,
right,
which is 0242 16 1570.
Right.
With these numbers, I'm sure you could help us so that at least we can just help the people of Jamra to get a school for these kids, move them from the danger zone. It's amazing when you come there, you see the building shaking and the kids are in it. They are naive. They don't know. They really know the risk at which they are, but they are willing to go to school, and they come to school every day. They come to school every day, and they are still in that building, and we need to move them as soon as possible.
And how much has been spent so far in erecting the structure?
If my memory will serve me right, with the purchasing of material that the suppliers and all that, it should be nothing less than 50,000.
Right.
Yeah, 50,000.
So just about 50,000 spent,
Yes.
and we needed about another 30,000 to make it. So that stalling of the project was purely owing to communal labor, which now you've sorted out. So you have that sorted out.
Yeah, not really. We still have, you see, sometimes when they come for the communal work and they close at 10 or 9, what you have to do is, the people that will stay on from maybe 11 to maybe 5 p.m., you need to give them something.
Right.
You need to give them at least 20 Ghana each or 30 Ghana each, so that they can also go and buy something with that. So that is where the challenge came. And we all have to come in to make sure that we solve it. So that has also limited the time of completion.
Right.
You see, so if we could have support, and we'll be grateful. I mean,
I'll come back to the bit about support so we can put those numbers and all of that out there again. But I'm just curious. So we're using hydroform technology for the project. I'm sure other people out there who are contemplating building would also be thinking, Namenswe, how about me? Can I use it? Can you use this, I mean, for
any
a
structure,
house of whatever size?
Any structure. You can build anything with it. Anything that the regular conventional concrete block can do, hydroform block can do it, and even do it better and it's cheaper. The cost saving analysis should be nothing less than between 20 to 30%.
20 to 30%?
Yes, compared to the conventional concrete block. And then you see, the fact is, if it's a social project, like a school, like a church, like a hospital, you don't need so much complicated fittings. And so the cost will obviously come down. But when you are putting up your own 5-bedroom house, 3 bedrooms, the structure itself is cheaper. But the cost that will add up to you is the fittings, the sort of windows you are looking for, the sort of roof you want. These are the things that will make it expensive to you. But the structure itself, the skeleton of the building itself is cheaper because the hydroform technology is cheaper.
Wow. So if people want to take advantage of this, what can they do?
Yeah, for now, my passion here is to make sure that we get a Jamra school sorted.
Right.
Please, let's get people to contribute for us to finish the school project. Anything else will come after that. If I leave Jamra and then I come to Accra and somebody contact me for a contract, I'll be happy. But if I come to Accra and then they call me that the school has collapsed on the kids and they are dead. God forbid.
God forbid.
I failed.
We'll do this one.
I will let go.
And after that,
My personal interest,
God will bless you with the contracts.
I know.
They will flow. So let's put those details out there again about how people can reach out. We'd love to hear from you. Reach out to us and help us complete this project. How can they reach out?
They can reach us through, the Momo number is, for multimedia link is 0593 038832.
Can you slow down and take that again?
Okay, so 0593 038832. That is the Momo number.
Okay.
And then if you want to make any further inquiries, you can contact the project coordinator, MFR.
Right.
And then her number is 0242 16 15 70.
Okay.
She's been an amazing person.
Can you repeat that for those who
0242 16 15 70.
Right. Right.
You can contact her and then anything that you want to support her.
I have seen photos and videos of the project, and I must say you are doing an amazing job for God and country. And we're grateful that you've partnered us to actually execute this. Samuel Agbenyiga, any final words?
I just want to tell Ghanaians that we should try to be sacrificial. I mean, it's not everything that the government can do it for us. They have a lot on their hands already. So individually, let's support. Let's support.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Agbenyiga. And that is ongoing. Do reach out and let's do this together. But we have a bit more right before we draw the curtains on today's show. It's our latest Hotline documentary focusing on mental health. It's titled Mind Matters. Manuel Cranting's piece airs later today. Ahead of that, here are excerpts.
1,000 members and executives.
As I leave the Upper West region, I head for its eastern counterpart, some 120 miles away. In a town called Bongo, I have come to meet another mental health patient, Mariama Isifu.
He's a schoolboy. He's a schoolboy.
She too a trained teacher. But unlike Ernest, whose condition might have arisen because of his use of narcotics, Mariama was involved in a motor accident which almost claimed her life. As doctors managed to save her, Mariama's brain suffered a major blow, making her lose her memory. And that was the beginning of her own troubles.
After the accident, I lost my memory. It took time before I started gaining my memory, and then the headaches and sleepless nights. Sometimes I can be there throughout the day and night. I can't sleep for several days or weeks.
Soon, Mariama was not only battling memory loss, she was diagnosed of a bipolar disorder, making her hugely dependent on medications. Mariama's experience in going through that phase of her life exposed another troubling feature of Ghana's mental health delivery system: sexual abuse.
And I went on a visit to a friend at China. There I met a mental health service provider, and we spoke, and he agreed that I could be coming there for every month for healthcare until he was transferred to Bongo Hospital. I followed him there to the Bongo Hospital. There it all started. Then he started sexually harassing me. He will come and he demands sex, to have sex with me. Sometimes, many times when I go to Bongo, as at then he was there at the Bongo District Hospital. When I get there, then you tell me it's at his quarters. I should come there. It got to a point that it looked like it's like if I don't give in to his demands, I can't get drugs.
These sexual encounters were rough and as frequent as she needed her medications. Someone entrusted with the duty of protecting her was now abusing her. All of this should not have happened to Mariama. As a female, she is entitled to the Mental Health Care Quality Rights. Section 64 of the Mental Health Act details treatment of vulnerable patients like females should go. Sexual blackmail and extortion of patients by caregivers is criminal and goes against the professional code of ethics. At some point, Mariama tells me she could not continue giving in to the demands of the service provider, so she quit.
I can get so depressed as a day. I can get so depressed that to the extent of me even getting up to brush my teeth is even a problem, let alone walking out of the room.
People suffering from mental health disorders and other related conditions are predisposed to depression. This is mainly because of their tendencies to withdraw completely from everyone else and keep to themselves. Without deliberate attempts to reach out to them in their world and offer help and support, they risk moving from bad to worse. And that is why the World Health Organization is heavy on quality rights in mental health care delivery. Here's the head of the World Health Organization's Quality Rights Initiative in Ghana.
So we realized that human rights violations and poor quality of care and support for people with mental health conditions, which includes psychosocial and intellectual disabilities, has been well documented in reports such as the Human Rights Watch and several others. And these violations are actually occurring in mental health services, in faith-based settings such as the prayer camps and such, and generally in communities. And so based on this premise, and in response to these growing concerns, the WHO developed the Quality Rights Initiative.
And that's our latest Hotline documentary put together by my colleague Manuel Karanting. It airs tonight at 8:30 p.m. right here on this network, 6:30 p.m. tomorrow. It's already airing on Joy 99.7 FM, the Super Morning Show. If you're going to catch some radio, you can connect there as well. Right before we wrap, did you know that the income of a young entrepreneur from some selected businesses was exempt from tax for 5 years? It is. Now, any young entrepreneur engaged in manufacturing, information and communications technology, agro-processing, energy production, waste processing, tourism and the creative arts, horticulture and medicinal plants does not need to pay income tax on these activities for their first 5 years of operation. A young entrepreneur engaged in business that enjoys an initial 5-year concession benefits from the following applicable tax rates for an additional 5 years. Now, if you're in Accra and Tema, it's 15%. If you're in other regional capitals outside the 3 northern regions, it's 12.5%. Outside the other regional capitals, it gets just a little lower at 10%. And in the 3 northern regions, 5%. I'm sure you're interested now and you want to find out more. How do you do that? Just go to your nearest GRA office and they will give you the information that you require. Ghana Revenue Authority, integrity, fairness, and service. And for us here, of course, you know we are the home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. It's always a pleasure. Let's do this again, same time tomorrow. But don't you forget, our major bulletins come your way at 10 and at noon. My name is Benjamin Akako. To all of you watching, have a wonderful day.